Swirling.
There you go. All right, we're live, guys. Welcome this Thursday night. It's Livewell here at Chris, North Georgia. So glad you guys could join us tonight for a great show. And again, if you're watching at a later date, we love you too. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and smash that notification bell. Is that what you young guys say they will?
I guess
somebody smashes something. But anyway, listen, we're glad you guys could join us for this episode. We're going to be talking about a lake that we don't get to discuss very much, and that is Lake Hartwell. Even though it is on the Georgia border, it is one of those lakes that's just a little bit so far north for a lot of us that we know it's there. We know it's a great lake, but we just don't get to talk about it that much. And I've got my buddies from the NPFL, the National Professional Fishing League, in-house, guys that have been on the show, and a new one if we can figure out a way to get them chimed in here. So to my left, we got Mr. Will Harkins right there. You guys know him as well from the show. And to my right, we got Rob Wroblewski and Richard Kee, who also fishes the NPFL. We're working on some technical difficulties, but he's going to get piped in here very, very soon. So let's go ahead and take care of our sponsors. As always, again, another NPFL guy. The guys at Sonar Pros. Richard's texted me right there. So the guys at Sonar Pros. We got Trent and the guys down there. Listen, if you want your Sonar, your graphs, your high-end electronics installed right the first time, take it to Sonar Pros. Trent and the guys know how to do it right. Take it where the pros take it. 770-530-4505 by appointment only, but definitely it'll be worth your time. And then next we've got Kevin Underwood and Lipsticker Fishing. Guys, if you watched Tuesday night show, Kevin was kind enough to come down here and talk about topwater on Lake Lanier. You guys should go back and check out that episode if you're not. If you're looking for one of the best guides on Lake Lanier, personally, I think he is the best. You need to book a trip with him. Check him out at lipstickerfishing.com. Check him out on Facebook. You will not be disappointed. So then we've got Evolved rod sleeves right here. To me, the best rod sleeve on the market. It floats. It protects your rod. Your reel's got the tips and everything. And best of all, the hooks do not get hung in them. We got them on the FNGO website. Check them out, evolvedfishing.com. And so Festive Waters is next. If you're in the kayak game, right here off 369, right by Lake Lanier, paddle sports, fishing kayaks. If you're into the whitewater game, Nathan and the guys down there can set you up with exactly what you need. Check them out at www.festivewater.com or just go see them in person, right? Just a little bit past Hammond's Crossing on Highway 369. And, of course, I got to do this one right because Mr. Richard Kee, who was our guest tonight, he is the inventor of the Money Saver Lure Retriever. It is by far the best plug knocker on the market. I'm telling you, I've seen videos of this thing in action. It goes through the water like a torpedo. Invest in it. Make sure you get your high-end bait that guys like me get them hung all the time. I'm telling you, it's the best of the best. And then we've got Jasper Tire right behind me. Turner Tire in Jasper, Georgia. We got a lot of things going on here, guys, tonight. So as you can see by the screen, we're trying to get Richard piped in. Family-owned tires, brakes, whatever you need right there. Brock and the guys up there will set you up. You got to support your local businesses right there. They support us, 706-253-3339. And, of course, Etowah Mead Beer and Wine in Dahlonega, Georgia. Guys, if you've never tried mead, you need to definitely get up there and try it. They got a great atmosphere on location, but, of course, mead can be shipped. So check them out at etowahmeadery.com. And tonight, oat stout. That's what we're going with tonight. So I'm telling you, you will love it. So hopefully we can get the situation with Richard fixed and get him on board very, very soon. The guys are trying it.
I tried to let him in, but
normally we're trying
got some blank screen.
We got some problems with the camera so far, but we're going to go ahead and start the conversation. So Lake Hartwell, I guess it was this past weekend or what? Yeah, it was this past weekend. Right? This past weekend. So the NPFL was there last week and culminated on Saturday with their tournament. And so I always impressed with the National Professional Fishing League because it's by far my favorite of all the trails because it's guys like Will and Rob and Richard and just there are some elite pros that cross over a little bit, but for the most part, it's guys like us fishing and they're really family-oriented, they're service-oriented, and they do a great job. And I love it. Well, they were on Hartwell, and I sent Will a text. When was day one?
Thursday.
I sent you a text at the end of the day saying, good job, but I watched your butt all. I stared at your butt. You had one.
Hey, guys, can y'all hear me?
We can't hear you, Richard. We definitely can hear you. We just can't see you right now. So
Well, that's probably a good thing.
It might be a good thing. So Richard's here in voice. We'll keep working on the camera thing. To me, guys, we'll just go Lake Hartwell this time of year. after watching the elites come off of Murray, just in my mind, I expected a lot of top water action, fast and furious. What's up, everybody in the comment section? But still, it didn't seem like it played out. They're going to have to cut his volume down for a second.
Hey, I got him now.
You got him? Oh, he's there. Put him up. Let's just pull him up so I can introduce Mr. Richard Kee right there. Just hit that ad and say, there he is. We finally got that technology.
What's up, guys?
What's up? So he's in Tennessee. He's in that part of Tennessee that's in the central time zone too. So where exactly are you at, Richard?
I'm about 30 miles east of Memphis.
30 miles east of Memphis. Did you know they tried to they were going to auction off Graceland the other day?
I did hear. I saw that on the news this morning.
Yeah, and the court stopped it. Somebody filed a lawsuit. There we go. We got them all in his glory. So I'll go ahead and repeat what I was telling these guys. I watched the elites on Murray and all that top water action, fast and furious. When you guys headed down to Hartwell, I just assumed it might be a little bit more the same. Hartwell's a Heron Lake as well. Will, I'll let you start it off. Is that what you expected going into the tournament?
Yeah, I was hoping for that. I figured that time of year there was a chance that we were a week or two early, and we were. A lot of these fish were post-spawn. They were just showing up out there. They still have bloody tails and everything.
Yeah.
The herring hadn't quite started spawning. There's a little spawn in pre-practice. It was not full-blown like you saw at Murray. Murray, full-blown herring spawn. So that's why all these guys were able to catch them on top water and the fun stuff. We were a little off schedule on Hartwell that week. But here shortly, it should get to that point.
Okay, all right, I got you. So, Eric Thurman, Danny looks 10 years younger. Hey, I've lost some weight, baby. I shaved and lost some weight, but I appreciate that. Got some questions. We're going to keep that conversation going, but when the questions pop up, we're going to have to ask them. Ron Swinford, how hard is it fishing a tournament where everyone is doing about the same thing? Does it make you want to move places, or does it make you want to stay put longer? Rob, I'll let you answer that first.
Yeah, I mean, everybody is technically doing the same thing, but there's little tricks to the book that we can do to offset that, and I think that's what guys that got the checks and stuff like that in the top 10 and stuff were able to figure that little something that offbeat.
A little different.
Yeah, a little bit different. Yeah.
What was your plan going in?
My plan going in is I was actually looking forward to try to see some spawners, and I think all day on the first day of practice, which was probably our sunniest day, and I spotted like 25 bass over 3 pounds on beds.
Still on beds.
Still on beds, but then like the last day of practice, I just went through every one of those beds again, and they were all gone.
That quick.
That quick, yeah.
That quick. All right, Richard, what about you? What was your plan of attack going into that tournament?
My plan for that attack was hit as many spots in the day as I could. I think it was a lot of presentation and timing. And if I rolled up on a spot that I was headed to and somebody was there, I just put it in my mind that I'm not supposed to be there. I moved on to the next one.
That makes sense. Now, I didn't ask you, Will, what was your plan of attack?
Yeah, typically this time of year, post-spawn, it's always a running gun approach. So same thing as these guys. I was hitting up to 100, 120 places in a day. And like Richard said, it was purely a timing deal.
Okay. What should normally be happening on Hartwell this year? Did it play out exactly like you thought? You kind of mentioned you hit it at a different time. And I'm kind of curious because Rob said you saw spawners. Well, around here, that's done. And Hartwell's not, but an hour and a half up the road. So did you expect spawners like he did? Or?
I knew. I mean, May, you're always going to have some left on bed somewhere.
Right.
But that was not in my game plan whatsoever because I knew those fish were coming. They were moving. They were not moving up there. They were moving out.
Okay. All right. So we'll get all you guys' opinions on day one. You're out there. And, Richard, I'm going to start with you, and then we'll work to Rob and work our way around. Day one, you're out there on the water. How did it play out for you? What did you see? What did you see that you expected? What did you see that you didn't expect?
Well, day one from practice with the conditions, I was in survival mode because of the sun and calm waters, and I felt like if I could survive day one, then I had a pretty good shot. I know the stats doesn't show that, but day one was a survival day for me as far as numbers, and I was looking for the clouds and the wind to come in.
Okay, what about you, Rob?
So my approach was I went to go look for spawners for the
Mhm.
first 2-3 hours. I ran like 45 minutes an hour up north to Tougaloo. Then I realized that just wasn't a thing. And then just like what Will and Richard did, I just ran about 80 spots and just run and gun until I hit the high percentage areas.
Yeah, and you on day one, you actually had to call it early a little bit because you had some electrical issues.
Yeah, so long story short, my alternator went out.
Is that what it was?
But I didn't realize that till like after the tournament, after day 3. I talked to a few people. I did the diagnosis after I got home back and stuff, and realized it was the alternator.
It was the alternator. How does that make you feel, just out of curiosity? You're in a tournament knowing now, and you all you guys might have experienced this before, but knowing, okay, I got some kind of issue. I've got to actually quit fishing early. What goes through your mind?
It kind of sucks because like you want to go in this tournament carefree.
Yeah.
You know, you just want to use all the time you got. I think I went in, like I started freaking out about an hour and a half early before I started weighing in.
Right.
And then I had the engine running on neutral, had my life jacket on. I didn't have it on gear, but I had that on because I was afraid that if I turned it off, I wouldn't be able to turn it back on.
Yeah.
To run back. So I had that thing running on like neutral for like an hour and a half, and I think that really killed the battery. But then again, I was able to get a good bag that day.
Yeah.
I was in 17th going to day 2.
Yeah.
Even though I lost about an hour and a half of that day, but I was still able to get a decent bag.
I always think about that. Most people see it as, you know, they see you guys catching fish or fishing. They don't think about the mistakes or issues that you guys have that the camera doesn't pick up, that nobody really understands. You know, and did you spin out? Let's just straight up ask you, did you spin out?
Hey, Danny.
A little bit.
What did Richard say?
Hey, Danny.
Yeah.
Robert's got probably the best distress signal video on the market.
That is very
100%.
true. And that's going to go viral here soon. I got to
Yeah.
give it to Miriam so she can work
So
on
she
it.
can work on it. Got the distress thing. All these guys cash checks. So they all did very well in the tournament. Absolutely. And so I was like really proud to know these guys. There's nothing like rooting for guys you know. So all these guys had a great tournament. Your day one, you had a camera. Again, I watched you most of the day. It looked like you were doing a lot of scoping. Correct or incorrect?
Yes, correct.
All right. Correct me if I'm wrong. It looked like you had a lot of short strikes that day. It seemed like you were reeling up whatever you were throwing. I couldn't hardly tell what you were throwing, and you can share that if you want. But it seemed like you go like, there he is. There, and they were short striking.
Yeah.
Now, what was that all about?
Yes, I mean, it's typical spotted bass. You know, whether you're on a linear, Harknell, whatever, you're going to get 50 to 75 bites in a day. It's just all about execution. So you get a lot of short strikes with spots, a lot of fish jumping over your baits, knocking it out of the water. A lot of times they just kind of come up and try and kill it. They're not really trying to eat it.
Right.
So that was pretty typical. You just had to execute and hope that 5 of the right ones were able to get the hook.
Yeah. I just noticed that. And I'm sitting there like, Will, come on. So, you know, that's what it is. Now, Richard and Will, you mentioned you went up the river?
Yeah, I ran up to Tugwell.
You went up Tugwell. Did either one of you guys run up a river?
No, mainly.
What about you, Richard? You Main
No,
Lake?
sir. Main Lake. Main Lake.
You're going to answer this question here, Rob, from Hunter Fishing right here. Sitting in Gunwad here. Appreciate you joining us tonight. Can you expand on running up the river? What were your thoughts to run up, and what made you turn around?
Well, during practice, I had a couple areas that had largemouth. I caught a 6.5 pound largemouth during practice there. And then there was a couple big ones falling.
Yeah.
Live bait. So I wanted to really hit those areas first and hopes to get a big one.
Right.
And that didn't happen.
You're going to take care of your kicker first.
Yeah, and I only had like one little dink on the boat, and I knew the thing was to just go run out and run spots, hit my forward facing sonar, and just put my head down and grind. That's what I did.
So, but that was your thinking. I'm gonna go chase size first,
Yes.
and then whatever happens, happens.
Yes, sir.
Now you mentioned spots, so you were targeting spots first day.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yes. And the cool thing about Hartwell is the largemouth there act like spots. So you will catch them.
You got a little bit of Murray in there with it.
For sure.
Okay. Of the fish you caught day one, how many of them were largemouth?
I had one largemouth each day, I believe.
How about you, Richard? As far as you were targeting spotted bass?
Yes, I was targeting spots, but I had a good mixed bag every day.
Every day. All right. So you mentioned you started off with a glide bait.
Yeah.
You started off with what?
Fluke style bait, top water baits. I had about an array of 6 to 7 I would rotate.
Okay. What about you, Richard? What did you start the day off, day one?
Well, day one I had I think 14 rods on the deck. Day two I think I had 12 rods on the deck, and day three I think I had narrowed it down to about 6 rods.
About 6 rods. Okay. Well, I'm just going to ask this. You had 6 rods. How many baits? I'm going to assume you used 6 different baits during day 2, day 3, or whatever. What about you? Did your bait selection narrow as it went along?
Oh yeah, I started out with about the same amount, and then probably had like 6 or 7 on deck.
Okay.
And I only used 2 the whole day.
You only
on
used
day
2.
3, yeah.
So what about you?
I had roughly 6 to 8 every day. I didn't really change anything, but just because spots are so day to day, they're going to change it up. So just because they won't buy a drop shot today, they could go crazy on it tomorrow. So you always have to have those options out.
Did you see any schooling activity going on whatsoever?
Very little, which was kind of surprising.
Were you guys kind of in a similar area?
Richard and I were, yes. Yeah.
Okay. So what about you, Richard? Any schooling activity whatsoever?
I didn't see any schooling the first day, and started seeing a little bit the second day, and saw maybe 5 or 6 schoolers on the third day.
On the third day. So not a lot.
No,
What about you?
Same thing. I mean, I saw some, but I couldn't tell if they were stripers or big schools of spots.
Yeah.
You know, they were just in. Plus, when I was trying to chase them, they were just running too fast,
Running
all
too
over
fast.
the place.
Fred Ashcraft says, Will Harkins is a hammer stick.
I don't know about that.
Is that a word you get called a lot? It's a hammer stick?
That's the first I've ever heard that phrase, I believe.
Hammer stick. So Will Harkins is a hammer stick. That's the new
that guy just hasn't been around me much.
Okay, I'm not even going to ask questions on that. But now you mentioned it though. You think there wasn't that much top water because the herring spawn there hadn't kicked. But see, this is what kind of, to me, and I'm not an expert angler by no means, but Lanier, we got a herring spawn going on. Murray, which is north of Hartwell, got a herring spawn going on. Yeah, Hartwell didn't have much of it going on. Why do you think that is?
You'll have to ask the fish. I don't know. My best guess is that everything on Hartwell is so lake to lake. I feel like Hartwell was a little delayed this year, just by 2 or 3 weeks compared to these other lakes.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, but every lake gets like that for some point, for whatever reason.
Okay. All right. What about you, Richard? You got an idea on why that might be?
Well, if my best guess would be how the different areas of the country has been getting layered by rain and weather. It's like we've been getting, like right now, you know, today's weather, it was a pretty wide spread of rain, but the last 3 weeks, it's been real like segments of rain. So I'm not sure if Hartwell caught a different, early on caught different rain and good, different cold spells to delay them.
Gotcha. So just out of curiosity, Tim, put that camera back on your beautiful face back there. Did I hit the wrong button on the audio?
I switched it over to Black Magic after I found it, and everybody says it's much better.
Much better. So, all right, guys. So, hey, listen, if the audio was a little jacked up beforehand, we're going to blame it on Richard.
Look
all right,
out.
because he's in Tennessee and he can't do nothing about it if we blame him. So it's all his fault. Much better. Oh, my phone going off too?
Just look at Josh texts you.
Mics are set to computer mic. So there we go. So I think we might have messed that up when we were trying to get Richard on here. But anyway, it's all good now. So we're going to keep going. That always throws a loop. Like, hey, try not to spin out, right? You know, like my boat motor just went out or something like that. It is what it is. We don't take ourselves too serious. Oh yeah, he is a Vol. He is a Vol. He said, "Oh Lord, a Vol." No wonder. So I like my buddies from Tennessee. I'm not going to knock them right there. You have, just since I hit them too, do you have a guess on why you think that is? You know, that was a pretty good answer with the weather. You know, Murray compared to, you know, maybe Hartwell's just gotten a little different weather than the, upstate South Carolina and down here.
Yeah, I mean, there was a big difference with the Murray and the Hartwell situation. I personally think Hartwell just gets just pressured so much, and those fish are just like and getting the lethargic stage. I mean, you can agree with me with that. I mean, I noticed that a lot.
Do you see? Was there a lot of pressure the week y'all were fishing? I mean, did you see a lot of boats out there?
There's
especially
just
the weekend?
always so many big tournaments going out of Hartwell.
Yeah.
And it's just pressured all the time. I mean, even though we run 80 spots, everybody's running those 80 spots. We're all rotating the same things. It's just a timing thing.
Yeah. So Ron Swinford, one of our great commenters from Rome, Georgia. I hope your tooth feels better there, Ron. You guys are going to listen to this later on iTunes and Spotify. I won't know what that means, but Ron's a buddy of ours. Savannah River lakes tend to be a little slower for the water to heat up in some years. And that could be, attributed to like what you said, Richard, a lot of the runoff, a lot of the rain possibly just taking a little bit longer, and that hasn't kicked off that shad spawn. Sounds good to me.
Hey, Danny.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to all the locals down there because, we travel a lot of different lakes, and a lot of times there's a lot of local pressure while we're practicing and while we're at the tournament. And I did not see that many local guys out on the water, and it's much appreciated across the board for us.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, I do notice that. Now, do you guys ever get in a situation where you got boats following you?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
How does that make you feel fishing? Number one, does it bother you at all? And number two, does it affect the way you fish?
Yes and no. Yes, obviously you don't like someone following you if you're doing well in an event like Lanier last year. I had a few boats follow me all day. They didn't learn a thing because I'm awful, but it definitely kind of gets in your mind. You don't want to give up your best stuff really, especially if there's like a tournament Saturday and this is Friday and you're like, man, I've got to save some of these fish for Saturday. So it definitely sticks in your mind a little bit.
Right.
But yeah.
This is a question for all of you guys. Now, you guys all room together when you're on the road.
Mm-hmm.
This is something I've often wondered. One of you or two of you out of the three are doing well, or one of you is doing well and the other two maybe not so much. How much information actually gets shared at the house at the end of the day? I'm being very serious. Do you guys, and listen, you are all good guys. You're all good, high character guys. But do you fib to each other a little bit? Do you hold back?
I feel
Just
like
be
out of
honest.
the group, I feel like I give out the most information. I give the most.
I agree with that one.
Keyword most, but not the most useful.
Is that what it is? And how much do you rag each other? Like, I'm serious. Like, let's just say Will comes in and had a terrible day. You and Richard just absolutely had a great day. Do you poke at him a little bit? Do you poke the bear?
It just hasn't
Yeah.
happened yet for Will.
Yeah. What's that? Well, that's true.
To be honest.
What about that? What, Richard, you were saying something.
Danny, if Will has a bad day, his lips on the ground.
Is he a powder?
Oh yeah,
Is Will Harkins a powder?
he's gonna mope around. I got to be a cheerleader then.
Do you have to counsel the young man?
Yeah, I got to.
You know what? Okay, but now let's do the age groups now. Now, Richard, how old are you?
I'm 52.
52. So we're the same age. How old are you, Rob?
39.
39. And you're?
22.
All right, listen, that is a vast difference in ages. And it's got to be a vast difference in personalities. Of you three, which one of you guys are the most fiery? Like, who really comes in and they're just like, you got an attitude. I'm going to put you guys against each other.
We call Rob the wild one.
Right, I can see that.
What?
You're the wild one?
He's a wild
Ow.
cow.
Does he have the most up and downs? Is he an emotional roller coaster during a tournament? He's over
I
like,
feel
"Don't
like he
answer that
definitely
Yeah,
is.
Yeah.
All right, and Richard, are you the old sage to kind of like
Mhm.
the father figure of the group?
If they call me the old one,
The old one? That makes
Yeah.
sense. All right, and so what about Will, especially since Will's had a pretty good run over the last year and a half? Does he ever come in just chest out, Banny Rooster?
I'm
No,
surprised he
I'm
hasn't, but every once in a while he will. What he said to you the other night? Hey, Richard, why don't you just win one for once or something?
Is that so? You're poking at him a little bit, huh?
A little bit, but it's
in good
very
nature.
well deserved.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the thing about it is you guys get along, and you're all really nice guys. So that's why I feel comfortable asking you those questions. I don't know that I can just ask that to everybody, but the fact that you guys – but I really was curious about the information shared. I noticed, and I'm going to talk to Trent Palmer and his house next week.
Mhm.
They had some really good finishes. I believe the winner came
Corbishley.
yeah, he came out. they all did fairly well. When let me rephrase this.
Mhm.
You're going into the last day and you got the lead. Richard over there is sitting in third. Rob's sitting in fifth. How hush-hush are you that final night?
You know, honestly, we share a lot of info. You know, if we're on something, typically everyone knows. Just being honest. Now, I'm not going to give like exact waypoints all the time. You know, if I've got a single school of fish and there's only 5 fish on that school, you know, it would be hard for all of us to be in there.
Yeah.
But you know, baits gets shown, patterns get shown, all these things get shown, just little bitty things.
Yeah, that's because I was wondering, because like you said, you started off that first day. What's up, Tracy Coker? You started off day one with a glide bait.
Yeah.
Did these two guys know that was going to be your bait of choice the first morning?
Not the first choice, but
They knew you were gonna throw.
I told Will I'm going to do something crazy in the morning.
Okay. And so did you know what crazy was?
Oh, with him, it can be anything. Typically, it's running about an hour up a river somewhere.
Yeah.
Is his crazy.
Because he's got to get that
yeah.
Florida.
Exactly.
He's got to go for them
Exactly.
largemouth out of Florida. Now, Richard, describe your fishing style for those that are watching or will watch in the future that don't know you. You a finesse guy? You a power guy? Who is Richard Kee?
Well, I've always been a crankbait guy, but since NPFL, I have grown into the forward-facing sonar game, and you know, I guess last year before Lanier is when my really big forward-facing sonar game started, and to go down and compete with those guys on Hartwell with a forward-facing sonar was a plus for me, and you know, big crankbaits, little crankbaits, it doesn't matter. I've always had a crankbait in my hand, and I love a spinnerbait. But this new technology and new game has really changed. I probably owned one spinning rod in my life for up until 2 years ago, and now I bet you I own 25 of them.
You sound
So-
like some guys I know right there. So you're a crankbaiter.
Yeah.
You like the crankbait, you like the spinnerbait. So you're old school.
Yeah, I'm old school, and you know, and I'm not kicking Rob out of the house on this deal, but Will and I joined up last year, and with his new age and my old school, we've made a really strong team between us, and even though it's 30 years apart, the young man's got a good mature head on his shoulders, and we have shared a bunch of stuff. And
Well-
the trust has been growing and growing every tournament.
That's good. That's good to hear. You know who that sounds like, Tim? Don't that sound like Driscoll?
It
Oh,
does.
Paul Driscoll,
It surely
you know,
does.
Hanging out with the young guys to learn this new game and all. I'm going to ask you another question, though, Richard. As far as crankbaits go, how has forward-facing sonar changed the way you fish crankbaits, or has it?
Well, the bodies of water that we've been going to, you know, the crankbait world has not been a big success in that deal. But, you know, Pickwick's coming up, Home Lake.
That's
We'll
your
see.
home lake.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. It's going to be tricky come July, but we'll see what happens.
Okay. All right. So, Rob, you got, you know, he didn't call you out and all that, but you got basically 20-something, 30-something years separating these two guys. So you're the guy in the middle
Yeah.
and all that. From your vantage point, as you've known these guys and as you get to know them a lot more, can you kind of see Richard coming over to the dark side of forward-facing sonar? Can you see his mental transition and how he fishes? And can you see Will maybe even taking some of it? Because you won what? Logan
Logan Martin.
Martin.
Yes,
You threw
yeah.
a crankbait the whole time,
Mhm.
pretty much.
Yep.
I wonder where he got that from.
Courtesy
That's
of
exactly
Mr.
what I was
Kee.
getting ready to say. So, you know, you see these two guys bouncing info off, and you're just in there in the middle, and you probably can take something from both of them. What's that kind of like? Just you guys bumping ideas off each other and picking a little bit from Will, and they may pick a little bit from you. You three guys, you know, what's that dynamic?
I like it. I like that we all three have different
Yeah.
ways of fishing, and it's actually if we put all those three together, we can be unstoppable for the season. in my
Yeah,
opinion.
no, I asked him what kind of angler he is. What kind of angler are you? He's a crankbait guy. Sounds like a power guy. If he's
I'm a power guy, but honestly, I love forward-facing sonar.
I know you do.
so much now and I literally can't live without it. It's crazy for me to say it. Like, I'm all about the spinning rod and putting my head down.
And you are from Florida.
Yes.
You're an Okeechobee kid.
Yep.
So this is and one of the reasons you came up here was to learn these herring lakes and stuff. This is a world of difference for you.
It is.
5 years ago, did you think that you would be staring,
5 years ago, I didn't even have electronics on my boat.
Right. So it's a big change for you.
Yeah. So it's just crazy to have it now, and then having all kinds of, it's crazy how 5 years ago I had no electronics. I was throwing frogs, big easies, flipping 3 foot of water till fishing 30 feet of water, looking at a 16-inch screen.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Throwing a spinning rod with 8-pound fluorocarbon or 6-pound fluorocarbon. It's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, Will, you've been on here quite a few times, and we know that you didn't have that stuff to basically get in college. So you had to learn to fish the old school ways. What do you think about the dynamic? Do you bounce questions off of these guys? Because he's from Florida. I call them flatlanders, shallow water guy. When you're fishing a shallow water lake, would you ask him, hey, how did you do that back in the day? Do you ever bounce questions off like that? And Richard being a power guy from Tennessee.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Part of this game is learning how to be versatile and how to do a lot of things really good.
Right.
So like I'll pick Rob's brain. I've asked him about Florida lakes, about how to fish grass. You have a mile long grass expanse, inside line, outside line, middle of it, so he's very knowledgeable in that. Same thing with Richard, very knowledgeable with a crankbait, with things like a jig. So it's very cool to get in with a little circle of guys. And I stress little circle, just who you can, trust and build camaraderie with. But definitely learn as much as you can from these different points of views. Okay.
So Richard.
Yes.
All right. Forward facing sonar. What's your opinion on it? You're having to learn how to use it, but we don't want to get in all the drama on one side or the other, but what do you think about it, and how has it changed fishing for you?
It's changed a bunch for me. I would say 6 months ago, I could live with it or live without it. But the more we go to some of these bodies of waters that are necessary to have it for what I've learned, I don't know if I could compete without it on those bodies of water. We go to some of these other lakes, I'll turn mine off because at Logan Martin, I never turned it on after day one. So
I know Gabe Hammond's right there. Pull that up. We're talking about bass fishing, but I've caught about 200 crappie in the last few trips on Lake Martin with forward facing sonar. And that's really where forward facing got its start. Mm-hmm. The crappie guys had it forever. And, was it Josh Jones that catches all the big bass now? Mm-hmm. I think he started off though using it in crappie fishing. So they're actually the pioneers of all that. Did you know that? Mm-hmm. Did you know it was like that? Now, do you think, Richard, fishing would be better with or without it? Do you like the old way though? Would you like to go back to the old ways?
He froze.
He froze up. Richard is froze. So we're going to keep that portrait of Richard right
we
there.
Should.
Can we screenshot that? Look at that. They need to put that on the NPFL right there.
There you go.
There you go. Richard, listen, we had about 10 seconds of just nothing but Tennessee delight right there.
Does that count as a vapor lock?
It was a vapor lock, just a little bit. Speaking of vapor lock, Kevin does have his question of the week. And tonight we're going to be giving away these Bass Mafia Dangerous Swim Baits. Now, these are the weightless. It's a 2-pack. And this is the, what color is this again? Chartreuse blue. So this is, Kevin's got a really, really good question for you guys right there. So that's going to be in about 30 minutes. So you guys hang on to that. And let's just see if anybody can beat Clint Bartlett, because I know he's got his AI already pulled up. So Kevin promised me it would be. He actually changed the question a little bit. I told him, I said, we got to make it harder. And I know you guys think that's crazy, but let's go with this. He mentioned Pickwick. Mm-hmm. That's the next stop on the NPFL. That is going to happen in July. No rod sleeves, Clint. No rod sleeves tonight. What kind of lake is Pickwick? That's more of a river thing. Mm-hmm. And are you, as a scoper, I know you're versatile, but you're young. Mm-hmm. Does that translate on Pickwick?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it translates just about everywhere. Where you go to Kissimmee in Florida to, New York, it'll play somehow, some way. Pickwick is historically a ledge fishing lake. July, a lot of these schools will be beat up already. So it'll probably be tough. A lot of smaller schools. But same thing. You're out there on the ledges, on these bluffs. Some of these fish you will definitely see out there. You're just looking for those big schools down there. But the good thing about Pickwick is a lot of the old school tactics will still play. Your big crankbaits, your Carolina rigs, your jigs, things like that. So it's kind of a mix between new and old school.
New and old school. Okay, and so are you looking forward? And I know you're a North Georgia guy, Rob, but are you looking forward to a lake like Pickwick? And I say lake, it's really a river.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a river. Are you looking forward to that kind of event?
I've never been there before, so anytime I never been to a lake before, I'm always looking forward to that. Just learning it, trying to adapt to it and stuff like that. I'm gonna be going up there to pre-practice here in a couple of weeks.
Right.
And
so. Richard mentioned that's his home. That's his home lake. So you guys are going to be rooming together, I assume, again.
Mm-hmm.
You think Richard's going to drop you guys any little knowledge whatsoever of how to do that? Did we lose Richard?
I'm here.
Is he still there?
Yeah,
okay. There he is. Has that beautiful face.
I'm just
Richard,
playing with our different camera angles.
yeah, we got some new stuff. Again, he's back there pressing buttons. We're trying to make this really, really good for you guys, and eventually we're going to get to that. How about your crankbait bite? Is that really going to come into play on Pickwick?
Well, first week of July is going to be super tricky, and it's going to really depend on the weather, on the approach, and I don't know. NPFL's got some stuff up their sleeve that might help us out, moving times around. So I don't know.
I got you. Michael Temples, and this is for all of you guys. Do any of you guys use live scope in perspective mode in the shallower water? Started using it that way, and to me, it's awesome. Any one of you guys can jump on that.
So I've started messing with it a little more, just out of curiosity. And to me, it's a lot like the 360. So like if you're fishing a lot of grass, especially kind of in the spawn too, some of those deeper beds you can actually see on your perspective mode. So there's definitely a time and place for it. I don't keep it on perspective very much, just due to where I fish. But it's definitely one of those things that you're seeing a lot of guys starting to learn and utilize more.
Now, you're talking about where you fish, because I asked those two guys the question about how they describe themselves. Would you consider yourself more of a finesse guy?
For sure, yes, yeah. I grew up fishing a Texas rig worm down Rocky Banks, throwing a jig, a crankbait, spinnerbait, stuff like that. So I still enjoy that, but definitely more of a finesse guy offshore, finding those groups of fish.
Okay, Richard or Rob, what about you guys? Y'all use it in perspective at all? Shallow.
I have when I was down in Florida,
Okay.
because the water's organic down there, and it's like up here you can see really clear, but
Right.
there you can't see anything, so it helps in perspective mode a lot.
All right, what about you, Richard?
Well, I run 360, so
I love the 360.
I rely on the 360 versus swapping back and forth, and it's worked out for me.
Somebody had a video on Facebook, and one of the things about a 360 is this time of year brim beds. And I've always been able to find brim beds very easy, but somebody had a live scope on perspective, and the brim it looked just like a 360 almost, with the exception of you actually could see the brim in the beds moving a little bit. You could see those. I was like, that was amazing. They're there on 360. You get the brim beds. You don't get the actual fish moving around like that.
For sure.
It was crazy.
If you tune that 360 and you'll see them.
Well, see, look. There's a reason why I have smart guys on this show, because I don't know what I'm doing. I have tried to get that thing dialed in. So next time you're down here, we'll jump over here on Latham real quick. We'll take my rig over there, and you can show.
Trent will dial it in for you.
Well, Trent will, but Trent's busy. Trent's got important people to deal with. Not that guy over in Marble Hill.
Trent's busy running wires.
Trent's running wires.
Running
Absolutely.
wires.
Again, guys, best of the best right there. So, Ron Swinford, good question. Will the big schools be broken up by that time in July, or do you think they will still be packed up by then? And I guess this is a Pickwick question. Mm-hmm. It's your home lake there, Richard. You got the most experience on it. So tell us about the big schools of fish.
There will still be some schools out there, but they're going to be beat up, pushed around, and you're going to have to figure out where the little sneaky places are. And they did they just now getting out there, so they actually getting out there a little bit later than they normally do. So that might actually help us, but it's going to be weather related on the approach of that time, and who knows what is going to happen. Pickwick can be very humbling. It has humbled me many, many times.
Okay, well, that sounds like any body of water to me. Pickwick's great, but I want to kind of steer us back to Hartwell a little bit for somebody that's watching. Actually, the title of the show is about Hartwell. What do you expect the pattern to be on Hartwell from, say, right now, we're getting towards the end of May, going into June and July from your experience, Will?
Yeah. So, I mean, this time of year, May through about October is going to be dominated by running and gunning schools and piles, brush piles. So that's just what they get on. It's just like a linear. Your trick's going to be finding those schools of largemouth that get out there too, to go along with your spots. It's very hard to win with just straight spots there. You typically have to have a couple largemouth.
Which is why you went hunting for the largemouth first thing in the morning.
Exactly.
Okay, so that makes a ton of sense to me. Now, you say it's just like linear, but is it? Are we throwing Sebills? Are we throwing things like that over brush pile? Do you start off with like a top water or a fluke and then run a Sebill style bait? And if that doesn't happen, what do? You go down after them? I mean, in the brush? Same thing with you, Rob? I mean,
yeah, I do the same thing. Sebill, the fluke, top water. If they come falling up to the boat, drop a drop shot, see if they hit that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the same thing as linear. Same thing with all these herring lakes up here.
So that was my question. Does the herring dominate on Hartwell as far as how you're approaching to find fish, just like it would in North Georgia?
Absolutely.
So it's still, if you go up there, you say you got to learn how to fish herring.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Makes perfect sense to me. Now, Rockaholic right there has got a question. Which transducer are y'all using on your live scope? I have found that the LVS 32 to be more reliable, at least on how he uses it crappie fishing. And I've had some guys come into the shop and they talk about the 32 is fine, but then you hit this other guy, so it's just night and day with the 34. So what are you running, Rob?
I'm running the active target too.
Yeah, so you're a Lawrence guy.
Yeah,
you're a Lawrence guy. What about you?
I just installed the LVS 34 prior to Hartwell, so I haven't had it very long.
Okay.
There is a definite difference in the two. If you're fishing, for me, if you fish a little shallower, and I'm saying like 8 to 12 foot, that 34 shows up fish and structure a lot better. It doesn't get nearly as blown out with a 32. If you're still fishing offshore, just looking for how fish are set up, the 32 is fine. But there's definitely a big difference when it comes to certain aspects with the 34.
Okay. All right, Richard, what about you? What are you running?
I'm running a 34 with a 8616.
Did you run the 32 beforehand?
I did.
All right.
And
so what's the difference with you?
Pretty much the
Because
same answer.
Rockaholic says it's more reliable. So, I mean, I don't know exactly what he means by as far as reliable. I mean, anything like that you experienced?
No, I had good luck out of the 32 and the 34. The biggest thing for me was when I moved up to the 34, I moved up to the 8616 and man, it's a Cadillac.
Just Cadillac. Now, Ben Holiday 1 in the comments says, as I understand it, the LV34 is louder to the fish than the LV32. And I assume he's talking about the ping that it sends out. So you guys are saying the LV34 does show it up a lot better. And again, I'm not an engineer. Do you think that might be what he might be talking about as far as the 32 is not spooking them? It's not hitting as hard? Got a guess on that?
No, 32 is going to send out a fairly equatable pinging as the 34, and all sonars do. There's just ways to mitigate that. So like if you got a school out there at 100 feet, throw your bait out there and turn your scope away or turn the pinging away. So there's different ways to mitigate that.
Right.
All sonars are gonna send out a ping, and fish do become conditioned to that, but there are certain ways to mitigate that too.
Okay. So at the Touring Anglers tournament, I want to get you guys' take on this. Jason Johnson made a Facebook post after that tournament saying that on Lanier, when we used to drop shot with 2D, we would get over the brush piles, we would drop down on them, do your doodling and all that. but because of he thinks forward-facing sonar, because it's so strong, has changed it to now it's better to stay off the brush pile and cast to it. Have you guys experienced anything like that? Because you could use 2D in the turn anglers thing, and he was actually able to get over them. Whereas in times past, I guess recently, he found that if he got over them with that, the live scope, those fish would scatter. Have you experienced anything like that?
Yes and no. I know that like if you're off of them for a while, like I can see fish about 120 feet out.
Right.
So the closer I get, I can see them start reacting a little bit differently before I even cast the rod. And then I'll go on top of the brush pile. Some of them will just get spooked out and leave. So like I would say casting a distance, a drop shot to them to get them to react is a lot better than dropping it right underneath the boat.
Right now. How about you, Richard? You're new to this game. What are you finding?
I'm gonna say from what I've been seeing, when you start getting closer than 60 feet, they're starting to get nervous and they're going to start moving around a little more. But if you can stay in that 70 to 75 foot range and make good accurate casts, you're bettering your chances.
Now, is that a result of live scope though? This nervousness now, do you think that's because of the electronics? Or could it be fishing pressure?
I think it could be a combination of things. It could be the pinging. It could be the shadows of the boats, depending on the approach. Because I was approaching the fish at Hartwell in different angles and was capturing better bites at different angles, and I kind of picked up on that as the tournament was going. And so my approach, I start mapping and would approach the areas differently, and I was capturing fish that way.
Okay. So did any of you guys throw a fluke? I know you threw it some. Did any of you guys throw a fluke at all? Did you throw a fluke at Hartwell?
Yes, sir.
Richard, you throw a fluke?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Hunter Fishing's got a question for us. Pull that one up right there for me, sir. Did they see a difference in rigging their fluke over brush piles on Hartwell? Double, weighted, nose hook, etc. So we'll just start left and work our way right. How did you rig your fluke?
So I don't rig it any of those three ways.
All right.
So there's definitely different ways I rig it based on how the fish react. Sometimes it's just a normal Texas rig, EWG hook. Some days I'll do something a little different. Rob, he rigs his really cool. I like his way. But there's definitely different ways. Get creative with a fluke. It's an awesome bait, but don't limit yourself to just those options.
I think a lot of guys are just getting started. They hear fluke. They think the only way to throw a fluke is cast it out and just jerk it under the surface. You can go 40 feet with a fluke. It's very versatile. All right. Is your special way of rigging a fluke secret?
I'm not going to speak it.
It's one of those.
It's just something, it works for me, and I've been seeing it getting better each time I go out.
Let me rephrase that question. Did you have to figure out the way to rig it out of necessity?
Yeah, I figured this. I saw a video on YouTube of this guy rigging it a certain way, and then I kind of put my little touch to it. Yeah. I added a couple things to it. It takes forever to rig it, but it does. It is sasatisfying.
Does it do that?
Hey, Danny.
Yes, sir.
Danny, if you keep Robert talking, he'll tell you.
I do know that. Like, I'll eventually get it
I'm not
going to
say anything.
Listen, my job on this show is to try to get as much juice out of the guests as I can. Rob's been on here enough that I know when I can't get it out of him, and I don't want to push him. I want him to come back. How do you rig your fluke?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, it's for Richard. As he froze up, there he is. Okay, yeah. How do you rig your fluke?
I got a couple different ways too, and Hartwell was all 6 days that I was there, I tried multiple different ways, and about 3 of them worked. So I just kept rotating different ways.
Okay. Let's see. So Michael Temples has a question, and this is something we've talked about on the show in the past. Do any of you guys boil your flukes? And one of the reasons for that is they get in the pack, they get stiff, they get bent. A lot of guys around here will take them, they'll put them in some boiling water for a minute, whatever it is, just to get them to straighten out. But I also heard somebody come in the shop the other day, and that got brought up, and he says boiling them makes them too soft. So do any of you guys boil your flukes?
No.
I do not.
I do not.
Okay. So Ron Swinford in his comment right there, again, echoes, it's right there on the bottom there, Tim. Right there, echoes what the guys that came in the shop said. Boiling them makes them much softer. I've done it with kinked baits, and it gives it a different action, but I'm not sure I caught more on the boiled baits. So I think the main reason people boil them is because of the way they're packaged.
Mm-hmm.
That's at least from my take, guys coming in. So do any of you guys ever just, and I know this is big with Jim Mathley, Jimbo and Lanier, when he talked flukes with us, and he's throwing them over brush piles to get a little bit better action. He loves just the nose hook.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody, is there a time and place when a nose hook fluke is better?
When they're really eating the bait, a nose hook is fabulous. I don't like it just because you get so many short strikes when they're just kind of, slapping at it, boiling it and all. That's when I don't like the nose hook. So that's why I never typically throw it. Typically, the best way just on average to use is just an EWG hook. It's simple, it's effective, and that gives you a little more leeway with the fish, with them kind of swiping at it.
Okay, that makes sense. What about you? Yeah, like I said,
Yeah, it's not going to come out.
Listen, it's not going to come out.
I rig it like a Texas style. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do.
Rob.
You lying piece of crap right there. It's like, listen, I'm not going to get it out of you.
Sure,
so,
you do.
Yeah, right. So boil them in shad juice. And then Hog Wild says, couldn't you just run some hot water over them in the sink and not soften them up, but heat them out enough to straighten those kinks out? I don't know. I don't fish, so I don't know. What about you, Richard? You boil your flukes, or you don't boil them? But if you get some that are kinked out of the pack, what do you do?
I save them for the last ones if I'm running short. I try to start with the straightest ones first.
I understand. So Clint Bartlett says wacky rig fluke on a half-ounce flick shake lately has been the juice. That's what you should have said. Do you realize, Rob, if you'd have said the way I rig it is a wacky rig and all that tomorrow I would have like 6 people call me up and like, man, that's some juice. I'm going to try it right there. I try to get them to tell the truth. I don't want them leading the guys down the wrong road. So get ready. We got the question of the night coming up again for these Zal Dangerous Bass Mafia swim baits. Rob has thrown one. They got the action. I'm telling you. You liked it, didn't you?
I love those Bass Mafias. They're so much better than the Mega Bass. They swim a little bit better. The one thing I really like about it, they don't get us hung up, I feel like, the Mega Bass, because the treble hook is in the bottom. The hook's on top on this. Plus, when you're skipping docks, I think it's great.
Perfect. So there you go. So that's high praise to say anything's better than a Mega Bass. So that's pretty good right there. I don't think the fish cares. Tracy Coker. Ron says just hot water will not take the kinks out. So, and then Tracy Coker says, I don't think the fish care if it's crooked or not. The fluke mimics a weak bait fish, easy prey. And I get that. And then Shop Life says right there below him, I'm just going right down the line, babe. Fluke plus a nail weight through treble with a treble hook, schooling fish equals beast mode. Is that it, Rob?
No. It's not even close.
Richard, I'm going to keep trying, baby. I'll get him to slip
Not
up.
even close.
Corbesley wouldn't say either on Low Budget Live. So I get that. And listen, they got their secrets. That's why they're pros. All right. They can't just give out everything. So that wacky rig isn't a joke. Okay. And then Clint Bartlett said, don't knock it till you try it. So you guys, if you've listened to this show long enough, you know I love a wacky rig. That's my favorite thing. I have not tried a fluke on that. What'd you say back there?
Will now.
I bet I will. You know I'm going to. I try to be a sponge. Grant Asaski, you guys ever use the donkey rig?
Yes, but in NPFL we are not allowed to use them.
Oh, okay.
So that
Single
takes
hook?
it off. Yes,
Single hook? Okay.
Yep. So I would love to, but unfortunately we cannot.
Can y'all throw A-rigs?
No, we cannot.
Okay, so you can't do that. That's just a question since you were saying single hook. Zach Lamb has an interesting comment. You guys can chime in on this. Richard, I'm going to let you chime in on this. Treble hook does not belong on a fluke. You ever use a treble hook on a fluke?
Well, we have tried it.
All right, what'd you think about it?
Well, it's going to depend on what the fish are doing. And I was just going to say that, at Hartwell, when you approach the fish, you had to see if they were coming up or going down, and that made a big difference.
Okay,
So,
explain to somebody that's watching why that made such a difference,
well, I mean,
or
when
how
you
how that changed your approach.
well, Will and I kind of talked about it during practice, and the way you had to just approach the fish and watch them for a second, and if you just watched the back of the fish, you could actually see if they're nose down or if they were nosed up if you paid attention, and if you waited long enough, you could make the right approach by either throwing on top or throwing on the bottom, and that was just the 1-2 punch.
Okay.
So
Since I'm not going to get you to tell me how you rig it, I'm going to ask you this question. How do you choose your fluke colors? Is it based upon time of day? Is it based upon cloud cover? What are the variables in how you choose the color of your fluke, Rob?
Depends on if it's overcast or if it's sunny.
Yeah.
I change
So let's
the
say
colors.
overcast.
Like white.
You ain't
like
got to
a-
give me your special
Like a
color.
white, like probably all white.
You go more the
Yeah.
the base color.
Yeah, the base color. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe throw a little shade something there,
I'm going to get something out of you.
You know,
baby.
but-
I'm going to.
And then I got a custom color that I had Steve Dial from Bruiser Baits, that owns Bruiser Baits. He makes these specific color
The Rob colors.
the Rob color that I
Yeah.
like to use
Yeah.
when it's bright and sunny days. And actually it worked. It worked during this the overcast days. I mean, I caught one of my bigger fish on day 3 that solidified my check on one of it. So,
Well, how about this? Do you think people get too hung up on changing colors? Like making big drastic
here's the
changes.
thing. So if a fish wants it and they're like the spots, if you're at a school and they're coming up to eat it and they're just swiping it, they're not eating it, leave that little school alone for about 15, 20 minutes, let them reload, throw a different color and see if they react to it.
Mhm.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, so Hog Wild says, I just get the ones that are natural colored, then some white ones, then some black ones. That's the whole color spectrum basically for any bait I use. So yeah, so you got your dark, you got your white, and then you just got your natural and all that.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? And I'm gonna say this without you having to give up too much. I noticed your fluke was down a lot watching you fish. I assume you were throwing a fluke down based upon me watching you fish.
Yes. So
How does color affect come into play with that?
yeah, for sure. So like Rob said, based on the cloud cover and sun and wind are the 3 factors that I look at when choosing a fluke. Typically, I don't get crazy with colors. Like worms, it's either going to be morning dawn, green pumpkin, and that's pretty much it. Flukes, I do kind of tend to mess with a little bit. I've used some of the black ones. I've used some of the translucent ones, the white ones. Typically, it's all dependent on the day and, like Rob said, how they are reacting and so I guess how they approach a bait. So, like if I can get away with a translucent fluke, I'm going to get away with a translucent fluke. A lot of that's better on sunnier days and it doesn't really get seen as much. So it's just all the time kind of messing a little bit with the colors, but
Yeah,
don't get too crazy.
Yeah, but I know you like to manipulate baits and change. I remember the first time you were on here putting skirts on jerk baits and
Yeah.
stuff like that. That's something that I had never heard before,
Yeah.
but I will not forget that. I bet Rob uses a Sharpie on his flukes.
I don't even know what a Sharpie is.
Yeah, I do. Sharpie, that magic marker.
Oh, that
marker
thing.
things. Yeah.
No, I do not.
Yeah. Well, but listen now, there are guys that we know that keep certain color Sharpies, a chartreuse, a red, just other things, and they will make adjustments.
Oh, yeah.
With their Sharpie, sometimes painting the fault side with a black Sharpie. They talk about that. Okay, old man over there in Tennessee, fluke game in Tennessee. Did you throw them a lot up there just fishing? And then what do you think about the questions that I've been asking these two guys as far as color?
Fluke has always been in my box. I love a crankbait, but I also love shallow water in the springtime. So, fluke was a go-to bait growing up. And the way I have approached this new game is I've got about 12 colors, and I'm going to just rotate through them until I figure out what color they want for that day.
I got you. I got you. So before I ask any more questions, and we're gonna stay on this because eventually I'm gonna get Rob to slip. I'm gonna try, babe. I'm gonna try. Let's do the question of the night now. Kevin, can you get over there in front of that microphone so we can see your beautiful face?
You have to quit calling Richard old man because I'm trying to answer the question back here.
Are you well? Listen. You're older. You are the older man. The older man. So what we're gonna do, guys? All right. So how many parts, Kevin, is this question?
It has 4 answers.
Okay, so again, as always, let me give the Fish North Georgia disclosure. Kevin is responsible for all these answers, so if they're wrong, don't be emailing me, texting me. You know,
We didn't do it.
I didn't do it. I'm not smart enough, nor do I have enough time to find these questions. So 4 answers. When you guys, as always, when you put them in the comment section, don't give 1 or 2. Throw out all 4 because you might just be giving the right answer to somebody else. They might be missing that 1 or 2. So 4 answers. And then once he does, he's going to read the question twice. We're going to make you read it twice.
Okay.
After he reads it, you guys jump in there and take off on it. And we're going to continue the conversation out here. So, Kevin, the mic is all yours.
Clint, I hope you're enjoying that rod sleeve. All right. Question is, who was the first title sponsor for the Bassmaster Classic? And what year did this occur? What lake was the classic held on and who won? Again, who was the first title sponsor for the Bassmaster Classic and what year did this occur? And what lake was the classic held on and who won?
All right. So what you're saying is that when they first started, they didn't have a title sponsor, correct?
According to
What you
my
saw.
info.
According to your info, and listen, I ain't even going to question it. So there you go, guys. He repeated it twice. If we'll have him repeat it again in 15 minutes. If none of you guys have it, we'll do that. J.R. Mitchell, spotted bass here in Virginia love a chartreuse fluke and a hot shad megabass, even in clear water. Why? Any of you guys want to jump on that? Why chartreuse in clear water?
I mean, they're spotted bass. If they're hungry enough, they're going to eat something. I mean, you can put, we always joke if spotted bass were big enough, they'd eat people out there. They're
They're
just
like
so
cats.
aggressive. Absolutely.
They figure out a way to kill you. if they were
Absolutely.
big. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I don't like cats. Are you a cat guy, Rob?
I can't stand
A
them.
cat, all a cat does is eat, pee, and stare at you the rest of his life, going like, I could eat him.
And then you got to smell that kitty litter everywhere.
Oh, I know.
Oh,
I know.
geez.
All right, so you got your first answers coming in down there at the bottom. You guys check that out. And Ron says he tends to change colors a lot with flukes, especially if they're grabbing the tails or short striking it. Then he'll change to a different color. Do you guys, chartreuse looks ultra white to a bass, Ben Holiday says. And that is interesting because I forget the video. Tim, you showed me that video. Do you remember who that was we watched that video on?
That's Steve Rogers Outdoors does a very interesting video on color. If
Yes.
you get time, go check it out. Steve Rogers Outdoors.
I think, have you ever seen this video?
I have not.
So bass have a certain amount of cones in their eyes, and I think we have more that allows us to see more colors. So what he did was he took baits and he put this film on it that basically mimics the color spectrum that fish can see. Chartreuse does not look chartreuse underwater to a bass. According to his video, it looks white. Green pumpkin, it changed. Everything changes. And these red crankbaits that we throw in the wintertime, they almost look like a brown. Am I correct on that, Tim? What it like brownish?
Yeah, bass. We have red, green, and blue cones.
Yes.
Bass only have red and green. And he was using some sort of program that was taking the blue out of it and putting baits in the water and on a table and taking pictures. And it gets real interesting.
It is interesting.
Take a look at it.
Y'all need to, because we came up for a show and Tim one night and Tim said, check this video out. And which, and it was like, if it's true, it's mind blowing because it's not what our eyes see in the water. So what you might be seeing up there on the spots, it might just be that ultra white. We all of us, at least at some point or another throughout the year, we'll dip our tails and spike it or JJ's Magic with that chartreuse. Everybody likes the chartreuse on the end. And we think, okay, we got a green pumpkin with the yellow down there. To a bass, that yellow, according to him, is a whitish hue.
It even shows some underwater footage just of some bass that are sitting near some grass or near some rocks, maybe underneath the dock. And it kind of takes the blue out of it to see what they see, which kind of gets back to water clarity.
Yeah, and the grass does not look good. Ever got a winter?
No, but Landrum 45 is close.
Landrum 45, you were close, buddy. So everybody check out his answers and go from there.
The cheat sheet is on.
The cheat sheet is on. So
You just got to figure out.
I
Which
can
one's
tell you
wrong.
the sponsor kind of shocked me. So Ben Holiday says bass don't have blue cones, of course. And then Hog Wild Fishing says they see ultraviolet light, which penetrates much deeper in water than natural light. Now, Richard, you still awake up there? You still with us? He's there. All right. Look at his smile. You're just a good looking joker, man. I mean, seriously.
Don't lie to him.
We old guys got to stick together. You know, the man looks good. You only look about, 25 up there. So I love
There
it.
you go.
Yeah, so I'm buttering you up for this. But how about this? Color-wise, did you know that about chartreuse? And do you ever dip any of your baits in chartreuse?
Up with a bottle of chartreuse in my boat, and yes, I knew a little bit about the color change, and I have a tendency to be a little colorblind myself. So, I just rotate through them and see what they like.
Now, let me give you guys a lesson on color blindness.
Mhm.
If you pick a fishing partner and your cull tags don't have numbers and they're color coded, make sure your partner that's running your live well, doing all your culling, knows that. I was fishing with Blake, who does our camera on Tuesday nights, and I'm back there and he's holding up this gray one or something like that. He goes, I think this green one is the lightest. And I said, Blake, that's gray. He goes, well, I'm colorblind, Danny. And I'm like, he goes, it ain't got no numbers. I'm like, why are you running that? He didn't bother to tell me he was colorblind before the thing. So go ahead. We got a winner.
We got a winner.
Who's the winner?
Landrum 45.
Landrum 45. So the right answer was 1973. Miller High Life, Rayo, Clarks Hill.
That's it.
So 73 was the year of the Classic. Miller High Life was the first official big sponsor.
They donated an extra $5,000 to the winner.
They donated an extra $5,000 to the winner. Rayo, I assume, was the winner. And it was
Breckenridge.
Rayo Breckenridge, and it was on Clarks Hill. So 1973. So, hey, again, appreciate you guys throwing that out. A lot of good answers. And to be honest with you, Clint Bartlett says, ha, 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 check that, boys. So listen, we don't care, Clint. He's the winner tonight. Whether he's right or wrong, I don't know. But we appreciate you guys. And so, Landrum, make sure I got your contact information. You can message me, Danny Pruitt, on Facebook. If I don't have it, and, with the way I keep notes, you might want to message me anyway, even if I have it. What's going on back there?
Hey, Clint, if you want to bet me a rod sleeve, correct.
Now, listen, though. You lost the rod sleeve to him
Hold
last
on.
week.
Slide over here and
Say that again.
and say that to him.
Hey, Clint, last week I had to give you a rod sleeve, but if you think this answer is wrong, I'll bet you another rod sleeve.
Okay, there you go. Hey, listen.
Which means
That's
you
their
may
own
lose
argument.
your rod sleeve. Clint.
That's
Think
right.
about this before you challenge him.
That's right. I'm not getting in the middle of
He's
that.
going to get that rod sleeve back. So what's
This
happening?
is drama-free zone, boys.
Hey, Danny.
Drama-free zone. Yes, sir.
Hey, Danny.
Yep. Hey, Richard.
Froze.
He's froze again.
Frozen.
Oh.
Again. Look at that, though. He just looks.
It's that Tennessee internet.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, you guys up in Tennessee, we got this thing down here called fiber. There he is. He's back. He's back.
Get
All
the
right.
squirrel running back in the cage. again.
Some squirrels running on his power line out there in Tennessee. What
Hey,
was you going to say, Rich?
when I was in your shop, I picked up 2 of those Evolve rod sleeves.
Yeah, how you like them?
I have thoroughly enjoyed them.
They're a really good product. They are a
Yes.
really good product out of Texas, and every rod I got's got one on there. And I don't have the fancy rods like you guys got. So Shop Life says I'll take that bet. Clint just says he got the answer first. Check the chat. Well, y'all might be making me give away 2 of these things tonight. So you guys check that out. Yeah, maybe it didn't come through. All right, so let's get back on fishing. Now, Hartwell, I want to ask a few more questions on Hartwell before we kind of ease out. What if you're going to start off at Hartwell? We'll start with you, Will.
Mm-hmm.
You're going tomorrow. Guys got out here on Lake Lanier. They're beating the banks right now, currently, the ones that talk to me, with a buzz bait till the sun gets up about 10-ish. Then they'll throw their top water over brush, over points, reef markers like that. And then if they have to, they go deep.
Yes.
Would that be a game plan on Hartwell this time of year?
Yeah, it definitely would. Typically this time of year, I'm going to start off with something like a whopper plopper. I like it over a buzzbait just due to the short strikes and having that treble hook on the back. And a lot of these places are just going to be super shallow on some of these shoals. Some of these long running points up there, a lot of these points have bushes up on top of them on the main lake. So I'll start off typically in the morning doing that. And then as soon as that sun gets up, these fish will kind of get out to these brush piles, get set up higher in the water column.
Yeah.
And so that's when I start running and gunning, with your flukes, with your top waters, I love a Seville this time of year, things like that. And if it's real sunny and slick calm, a lot of these fish are not going to commit to stuff like that. So that's the only time that I will go to something like a shaky head or a drop shot.
In calm water.
Correct.
In calm water.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. All right. So what about you, Rob? I mean, how would you approach it? You fish a little different than he does.
Well, no, I mean, but we towards the end of the tournament, we all basically were fishing the same style. But I'd approach it the same way. I'd go to a shoal point, and instead of throwing a big old spook, I'll throw a little popper just to mimic a small bait fish and stuff like that. I can get a quick limit pretty quick doing that, and then throw the fluke style bait, and then the spill, and then again when it's hot and sunny days and it's calm, that drop shot was working really, really well.
The drop shot.
Yeah.
All right, Richard, same thing to you. If you're going to Hartwell, how do you approach it? Just say you're going fun fishing tomorrow. Would you do kind of what I was just talking about? Or would you be throwing a crankbait for all I know?
Well, I wish the tournament would have been one more day. I was dialing in by the hour, and I learned a lot that week. It was a lot of firsts for me, regardless of raising the shield up. But it was new at this game. I think we marked like 457 brush piles. And we were running 100 to 120 a day, and so my approach would be where I left off at, and that would be just running and gunning.
Running and gunning from the get go.
Yep.
You're on the lake at 6:30 in the morning. You're running and gunning that early.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
With top water or with top water?
Yeah, I'm running everything I can run. I was not on one location more than probably 7 minutes.
Wow. Okay. All right. What top water bait you throwing first thing in the morning? Tournament's over with now. You can tell everybody.
I was throwing a whopper plop.
You guys in that whopper plopper. Good Lord. What about you?
Hey, Danny, you'd be proud. You'd be proud. I got some old daggum, I just went blank.
It happens at our age.
What was that I showed you?
What did he
The
show?
pop-Rs?
The pop-Rs?
Well, some pop-Rs and the stick baits with the
devil horses.
Devil horses.
The prop, old prop baits.
Old prop baits. Now, that was brought up last Thursday night when we had Tim Hancock on, and he had all these old baits. And then it was brought up again Tuesday night from Kevin Underwood. Like, nobody throws, or they're just not sexy anymore, but everybody seems to say that old devil's horse still works, especially around brim beds.
Dude, I throw devil horses in Okeechobee back in the day. And that used to get many big bass.
That's what Kevin would said too.
Yeah.
On that. He goes, "That's a Florida bait."
That's a Florida bait, yeah.
But guys up here do throw it. It's just not talked about very much. Is there a reason? It's kind of like the way you hook up a fluke.
I guess, yeah. This is
Hey, enough money, and I'll tell you exactly how he does it.
All right, guys, listen. We're taking up a collection right here. If all you guys will PayPal me $10, how much do we need?
A couple hundred will do.
All right, so I need 20 of you guys to send me $10. You can go Danny at Fish North Georgia on PayPal, and we will get it. Money buys everything. You can get anything for the right price. So never underestimate how good that little popper can be. I find it interesting. Like, just a different, as you guys, even though you guys get similar, and all, you all got your little favorites, but more and more I'm hearing about a devil's horse. And we even talked Tuesday night about the long A or whatever you threw on that tournament up here on Lanier.
Yes,
Wasn't it the long A that you threw?
Lanier, yeah.
Yeah, and you were throwing it for spots.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't work on you the last day, but the first 2 days it was great for you. That actually came up. Money is the ultimate lubricant. I don't know if you ever checked out bait fuel. Bait fuel is pretty greasy right there, buddy. So, but yeah, I get what you're saying. I noticed that when people go to Hartwell, Green Pond always, that is the kind of mecca on Hartwell for big tournaments. thinking of Georgia and our lakes and all that, why do you think we're not setting up any of these places around like Lanier, other lakes to host these big tournaments? That Anderson seems to have put a lot of investment into that place, and it draws these tournaments.
Absolutely.
Are there other places that you guys fish that is similar to Green Pond, or is that just totally the unicorn?
What makes Green Pond special is the people there.
Okay.
They're going to have volunteers out there at the crack of dawn, driving trucks, directing. Neil Paul, the director out there with Anderson County, amazing guy. So it's truly the people that make that special. There's definitely places. Laurel Park could be that on Lanier. Definitely places that could be a Green Pond, but it's truly the people behind it that make it what it is.
Okay. All right, Richard, up in Tennessee. How's it in Tennessee? Do you guys do anything like that?
Well, I'm gonna touch on Green Pond for a minute. Neil Paul and the whole team. I couldn't thank them enough. Every time I saw one of the volunteers, I just told them, "Thank you for your time." They done an outstanding job. You can't speak high enough of them, what all they did for us while we were there. Tennessee is slowly improving, but they just, the volunteers, the facilities is not quite up to the standards of Green Pond yet.
Okay. Just something I noticed, and you're from Florida. Does Florida have anything like Green Pond, or do they push anything? Is it important to them?
I know, like in Okeechobee, like the Roland Martin, the Roland Martin Marina.
Yeah.
That area where the tiki bar and everything, and then Scott Driver are the two big boat ramps. But the one thing that's Green Pond stands out is, again, what Willis mentioned, the volunteering. They pick you up on the golf cart. They take you to your truck. They unload your boat for you. I mean, it's just all that stuff, and you don't get.
We don't see on camera.
I've never seen that before, and I saw that the first year we went to Hartwell. What was it, 2 years ago when the NPFL was there for the first time? They did that just like they did this past weekend.
That's something that we watch the weigh-ins. We see you guys come up. We do not. I hear Big Al thanking them and all that. That's something we don't get to see on camera. So that's pretty cool. You guys are saying that. Now, hunter fishing, herring population of Hartwell versus herring population on Lanier. What did you guys experience? And I know Clint Bartlett says Lanier has 2 times the herring, but any of you guys, how do you compare the two as far as the blueback population on the lakes?
Well, I think Lanier has way more the herring population than Hartwell.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Well, then what is the second food source on Hartwell if it's not herring?
Threadfin.
It's a big threadfin lake.
I mean, it's got a lot of herring in it.
Is herring the predominant bait species on Hartwell?
I would argue so. Yes. Like I said, the thing about Hartwell is I feel like it's almost a little flatter of a lake. So that's why you have a lot more largemouth, a lot more bluegill, things like that. Lanier is a special place in and of itself. It is full of herring. It's got a lot of threadfin in it too.
Yeah. Even got some gizzard shad.
It does. Yes. But Hartwell's definitely, it doesn't quite have the herring population, but it does have quite a bit.
Okay. Hey, Richard, what on Pickwick? What's the predominant bait species on Pickwick?
You're gonna have mostly gizzard shad.
Mostly gizzard shad. Now, but you're still going to be catching spotted bass up there, more spots than largemouth, or is it equal or what?
Pickwick's got some spots, but you're going to catch more smallmouth than you are spotted bass. Depends on the time of the year.
Okay. J.R. Mitchell, pull that up there for me there, Mr. Tim, if you could. He's our buddy from Virginia. And again, man, we appreciate you joining us all the time. So I love it. Drop shot seems to be the go-to spotted bass bait up here in Virginia. Is it the same way, down here? Haven't heard much from the guys tonight on a drop shot. Is it on the deck while fishing Georgia lakes? And I would say yes, and yes to a point. Mm-hmm. I think some other things have changed a little bit, but drop shot's always in play. Now, you probably threw a drop shot a little bit. Didn't you on Hartwell?
Yes, yeah. Day one, I think 3 of my 5 I weighed in came on a drop shot. But that was purely out of necessity. Typically, if you're throwing a worm up here, a drop shot, you're not winning. You're catching more fish than anyone else.
You're not catching size.
Yes, that's the trick. Is your average is so much smaller.
Okay. How about you? Did you throw the drop shot any at all?
Oh yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. How'd you do with it?
I did really well. Day one, I caught 1 over 3 with it, and then day 3 I caught one of my good keepers with it as well.
With that,
Yeah.
okay.
So it was just like a mixture of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But is it always on the deck of your boat?
Always, yeah.
Always. Okay. How about you, Richard?
Yeah, I did that approach. I started out top and went to the bottom.
Okay, so that makes sense. So again, spotted bass, that drop shot plays, and I think the drop shot actually originated in California. If some of the guys I've had on in the past, they called it doodling back in the day. You doodled your bait, But I do think the drop shot has changed a little bit, like we talked about a little bit earlier. Used to be primarily a vertical presentation, and now a lot more guys are casting it.
But
Do you do anything special when you cast it?
Well, you can still do the vertical thing. So like when you do get a school off a brush pile and there's 30 of them coming up to your boat and they don't even hit your bait, I always drop the drop shot right then and there and then go all the way down. It doesn't happen all the time, but you got to wait for it. Sometimes they'll hit it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vertically, it's boring as all get go. I mean, I'm like, seriously.
Yeah, it is.
It is like an insurance seminar. It is just boring, but you're right. It does catch numbers. It does catch numbers, but you very rarely hear of a guy who wins a major tournament, at least around here, and all he did was drop shot because of the size. You're right, the numbers. Richard, you a big drop shot guy, Mr. Crankbait Man?
He froze again.
Froze.
Listen, he's so serious looking at that picture. There he is. He's back with us. He froze up a little bit. How much does a drop shot play in your arsenal?
It has grown quite a bit for me. This past probably 16 months, it's grown quite a bit. It's a go-to bait now for me.
Okay, what's your favorite brand of drop shot worms?
Robo.
Okay, what about you, Rob?
Robo. And
Robo
Bruiser.
And Bruiser. Yeah, Bruiser. And what about you?
I had to add that in there. Robo.
Yeah, he had that. Yeah. Now, is your bait available yet? You swimmer?
You're special.
Oh yeah, it's
okay.
available. It's been up. Yeah.
Yeah. We go.
I don't really use it this time of the year.
Okay, I got you like that. So, all right, fish are being finicky. All three of you guys, you got to go finesse. Would you rather throw a drop shot? And if not, what's your alternative to a drop shot?
You're gonna love my answer.
Okay, well, let's start with you. What is it? What's your alternative to a drop shot?
I'm a Texas rig lizard.
A Texas rig lizard.
Yeah,
Seriously?
Yeah.
On a spotted bass lake.
Yeah.
You know what? I had a guy ask me this in the shop yesterday about why we don't carry that many lizards. And I said, because they don't sell no more. They really don't sell like they used to. I mean, a lizard is not, but all your Carolina rig guys, all you ball and chain guys, pull a little lizard the whole time. At least that's what I get from people coming here in the shop. So why do you throw a lizard?
That's just the old school. It has never failed me.
And why you throw it on a Texas rig? Do you do a Carolina rig with it any at all, or is it Texas rig?
I do throw it on Carolina rigs a lot, but I love a Texas rig worm. It's just if you gave me one bait in the world to throw and that was all I could throw, that would be it.
A Texas rig lizard.
Yeah.
4-inch, 6-inch, the big 6-inch lizard. What color?
Green pumpkin.
You only get one color.
Green pumpkin. I'm gonna dip that little tail.
You're gonna dip the tail. You're gonna dip it in chartreuse, orange. What you dipping it in?
Chartreuse.
Chartreuse.
Yeah.
That's an interesting question. All right, Rob, you get one bait for the rest of your life. One bait, one color. What are you picking?
A fluke.
A fluke.
A fluke.
Now give me a color. I know you got your special color. Let's just talk about mass-produced colors. All right, mass-produced colors.
A white.
A white fluke. Listen to this, but
Basic.
There are only 40 different shades of white.
Yeah, which shade? Which shade?
So just pick one and go.
Pearl, white with chartreuse tail.
I don't know. I don't want to be racist, but yeah, it's just white.
Just white. Just dip them off. Hey, listen.
Basic white.
Basic white. I got that. You're giving away secrets on that rig lizard right there. So, all right, Will, one bait for the rest of your life, one color. What are you throwing?
Yeah, I'm gonna say a drop shot. Not for Lanier and Hartwell, but outside of these two spotted bass lakes, largemouth love a drop shot, no matter where we go.
Really?
So, absolutely, yeah. Like Santee Cooper last year, I had a 20 and a 23 pound bag, all drop shot. Like
all drop shots.
Yeah, I caught, out of the however many 100 bass I weighed in last year outside of these 2 lakes, probably 70 came on a drop shot.
You sure that wasn't a dream?
And listen,
I
now
had a
listen,
dream.
listen,
I had a
is he
dream.
is he lying to me? Wait a second, we just got Richard Kee to sing from Tennessee.
Yeah, there's a running joke these guys have of the dream.
Hey, it's no joke.
Well, what is the dream?
So
What's the dream, Will?
So, a week's worth of fishing can take a mind on the toll, or a toll on the mind.
Sure.
So you're out there by yourself all day, and then you come in, you're tired. So I wake up. We had breakfast that morning. I think it was day 3 of practice. Richard, day 3 of practice. So I come in. They're at the table, and I'm like, guys, I had a dream last night, and then this guy. What was your reply?
So did Martin Luther King.
Okay.
So that was his little snarky reply to my dream.
Yeah.
I was being serious. And he's like, yeah, so did Martin Luther King. And so my dream, though, it was the 3rd day of Hartwell, and it was a nightmare for me. In my dream, I was leading. I opened my live wells at weigh-in. On this side, I've got 2 bass. Open the other side, I've got 3 crappie. And I'm thinking, how in the world did these 3 crappie get in my live well? So I'm up there scared to death trying to weigh in 3 crappie to go with my bass. And so that was my dream, and they've heckled me on
They've
it.
heckled you.
Mhm.
So you were going to weigh 3 crappie in.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like us old guys, like going to work or going to school in your underwear. Yeah, I don't know if you guys ever had that dream, but that's an old kind of. Richard, you probably have. You have
Still laughing over the 3 crappie.
the 3 crappie. So, why did you have that dream?
I couldn't tell you. I guess I was stressing.
You were stressing.
Yeah.
You were worried that
I
much.
said it's a lot on the mind.
It is a lot on the mind. You guys fish in high pressure situations, so it's a lot different. And I don't think a lot of guys think when it comes to tournament guys, first of all, they think it's a glamorous life. It's not as glamorous as a lot of guys. You guys got to go through a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and there are a lot of guys trying to make that level. They're living out of their trucks. They can't, it's not easy. But I don't think a lot of people think about how stressful it is, because it's like I fish a tournament on Lanier. I go 8 hours. I go home. I go to sleep. My wife's like, "You're just fishing," and I'm like, "I just wear myself out on a pot tournament." I can't imagine putting a week's worth of time in what it takes, and then you guys have a lot of money on the line. I mean, and you pay a lot of money. You pay a lot of money. Now, I want to transition into that. I heard a guy talking, and I've heard Paul Benson say this: professional tournament organizations are businesses. The customer is the angler. I think some of us spectators sometimes forget we're not the customer. The anglers are the customer. You guys are shopping with that tournament trail. But I forget the name of the guy that put it on there. The comments have come up, or the questions come up, that they think, Buddy Norris, that might be who it is, that you guys ought to be able to fish for free because you're at a professional level, that the entry fees should be covered. Do you ever, Danny, I love the fact you know how to pronounce Hartwell. Well, I guess I try. It's one of the few things, if I'm doing it right. I mean, you might be just joking around. Do you guys ever see it getting to the point, and Richard, I'm going to let you start off with this, where anglers will be paid to come fish, where the organizations will pay the entry fees, or the sponsors will pay the entry fees? Or do you think it should stay pay to play?
I don't think it'll ever get there. I mean, yes, it's a business, but we pay to play, and I was going to touch on this a minute ago, and I'll touch on it now. But it's a lot of hard work. I think we calculated in the 3 days we put 42 hours in on the water, and that's just practice, not counting the about 60 hours we did before cutoff. So, it's. To your direct question, I don't foresee it ever not being paid.
Okay. What about you?
I don't think not anytime
do you
soon.
want it? Do you want it to change like that? Do you think it's because, like Hog Wild said,
listen,
then you're not the customer anymore?
Yeah, that's true. But if it ends up changing like that, then you're gonna have the jealousy get even more crazier than what it is now. With the drama and the finger pointing, I'm like, why does he get a chance to do it? I'm like, what has he done?
Yeah.
That's what you're going to get. I feel like it's still going to always be play in.
Yeah.
If we can ever get like fishing industry is becoming huge.
Oh yeah.
It's not there as big as we want it to be. I think if like Netflix comes in and takes like 6 anglers and does like the full swing, like the golf done, what they did with the golf, with the PGA.
Right.
I think that we'll get other sponsors and big sponsors to come in and pay for that. But it's going to take years.
Yeah.
I think the way the fishing industry is going, it might happen like that, but at the end of the day, I think it's going to be play and pay.
Yeah. Okay. So, Will, what's your thoughts? And it's like this. One of the guys in the comment section of that video brought up NASCAR.
Mhm.
I don't think a lot of guys realize that every team in NASCAR pays an entry fee to go to a race. And you got but even with NASCAR, which NASCAR is expensive as hell. But even then, with all the big sponsors they got, they still have to pay an entry fee to get to their races. So something that I don't think a lot of people thought about, as far as NASCAR. What do you think as far as like the future of it? Would you like to see that, or would it be like he said, would that create more problems than positives?
Yeah. I mean, selfishly, I would love for us to be able to fish for free, but if we're not there already, it'll never be like that. I don't believe, just because we don't have the audience that, say, the NFL has, MLB has. So you have all these paying audience members. We don't have that in fishing. I don't feel like anyone would pay, all this money, $100 a month, to watch us on TV. I just don't foresee that. So to answer your question, I don't think we will ever get there. But yes, I agree that the money does create a barrier of entry that is needed in some cases. You just like any sport. I mean, you've got to have some sort of qualification to get in. The money does weed out a lot of guys who would, in my mind, create some of the drama and some of the issues. But like all of us, I mean, we don't get rich off this. This is not a money making scheme. This is it's everyone's passion. It's everyone's dream. So I don't think the money is necessarily the biggest draw here. Okay,
that's a good point. Now pull up Hog Wild's comment right there. One above it. He has 2. We'll start off with that one. It would be good in some ways, but it would also put some real hardline expectations on anglers from whoever is responsible for those entry fees, because someone has to pay them somehow. So then, even if you brought in Netflix, if Netflix might say, hey, listen, our views are down a little bit. We need to create a little drama. We need to create something that makes people watch. And you might get that outside influence in on that possibility, maybe not.
And I heard from the grapevine that Netflix was looking at, I think I heard it on the James Watson and Luke Duncan. He mentioned how they were in the works of possibly getting a couple, someone from the Leeds, the BBT or whatever, to do a TV show. And I think that girl Stephanie, but it just fell through. I think it's about money, and it's all about the audience. Like who really wants to watch a bunch of bass guys? I mean, there is a lot. There's us bass guys that want to watch it, but there's 100 million other people out there that have no clue what our sport is.
That's true. No, that's true. I get that totally. That makes sense. Shop life. Yeah, go ahead.
I think we're right where I would like to make a comment.
We are then.
Old school, I fished a lot of Redmans and Everstarts, and then growing on up into BFLs and NPFL now, and the NPFL staff and guys and ladies, they do a phenomenal job for what for us and what we do and where we go. And I don't know what's going on with MLF or Bass, but I hope NPFL doesn't ever get to that drama part, and because NPFL is like a family, and they run the whole organization like a family, and Will and I have talked about other series, and my answer every time is we need to stay right where we're at.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That is one thing, and I think with the NPFL, you guys are able to communicate with the owner. With Paul, the guys running the thing, Big Al, and all, there's this communication factor, and I still haven't forgotten the trick you played with me on Big Al. Did I tell you about? I'm serious. He's got a butt kicking coming to him. So, but again, for you guys that don't know, we tried to call Big Al after Will was on the last time and tell him that Will brought the shield. He brought the trophy. And I got the great idea.
He was at my house.
Big Al was at your house. So we got the great idea of calling Big Al and saying that I dropped this trophy. And Will was supposed to be on my side playing it. Well, what happened is Will jumped ship. And Big Al turned it on me. And we all had a good laugh. It was great. But the thing about me saying that is I can't call up the leader of Bass or MLF and play that joke. A smaller guy but with the NPFL, those guys are approachable.
Mm-hmm.
I can call Al and Paul tomorrow. They'll talk to you. I don't know Brad as well yet. I'd like to one day, but it's a much more like what you said of a family thing. And I also can relate to the anglers a lot more. And that's why I like it. Paul Benson is my hero. Love that dude. Hey, Paul's a great dude. He's squirrely. He's squirrely though. He'll get no. Huh?
I wish he could hear.
Yeah, he is a little deaf.
All right, so Paul can't hear out of one ear.
So let me tell you this quick story about Paul. So we were playing golf.
Yes.
And
yes.
I hit this ball and Paul's way up there. And I'm like, Paul, watch out. I'm like, crap, he can't even hear. And it almost hit him.
It goes like a football.
He
He didn't even realize it.
Never realized it.
And he has to try to read lips that time just because of his hearing. And I'm definitely not making fun of him. That is tough. But you can tell if he don't hear you. He'll cock that good ear towards you like that. But the whole point of it is that we can sit here and joke about Paul because they're approachable, regular guys. And that's why I love the NPFL. It's not even close to the rest of them. And so to his point, though, that family atmosphere, you're where you are. And the NPFL is going to grow. I mean, they're running it right. Everything's in the right thing. And I kind of hope they don't ever change it. You guys stay with that. But, you go wherever life takes you. But that was just a thing I noticed last week was the pay to play. And now my question on top of that is it because some of these anglers, and I'm not calling this guy out, I'm talking about generational, the new coming up. Is it just expected these days to have things not necessarily handed to you, but is it expected to be a little bit easier? And, Richard's fished a lot of we talked about the red mans and stuff like that. I mean, didn't you, Kevin, last week have a shirt on that was like 40 years old from one of them things? It's been around a long time. So things were different. Is it a generational or a time as we evolve in time? Or do you think that's just becoming expected? Like, why can't I play? Why can't people pay my way? Richard, you're the old guy here. What do you think? Are you seeing that? Not necessarily from Will or Rob, but the younger guys, are we spoiled?
Most definitely. I'm going to say more blessed than spoiled for me. Unfortunately, I have a good wife that helps in every aspect and good family to go along, good friends. And, this sport is very expensive. It's a big time consuming situations and it can easily be a burden onto the family, very easily. And, when I started with the NPFL, I cut everything else out in order to do this.
Yeah.
So,
I got that. So Hunter Fishing says, "Oh, come on, Danny, can't you fish boat docks?" Ha ha ha. I will say this. I talked to James about coming on the show and he's going to. He just had a lot going on with that situation at that time. I haven't reached back out to him and I talked to him at the Turn Angler stuff. But I did get some wise advice from someone in the NPFL that said you're better off to steer clear of the drama. And you don't see that. You're just better off long-term to steer clear. It's great for clicks. Great for clicks. And some of these guys, I think, and I'm not going to call out any particular YouTubers, you guys probably can guess it, they harp on something over and over and over and over again. And sometimes it makes you wonder, are they really against what they're talking about? Or is it because they can get 70,000 views and make that YouTube money? I don't know. You just got to be individual with that. But I got told to steer clear of all that drama.
You're trying to get political and news on here.
Listen, I'm not a very smart man, but, we can do that. All right, so you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just it gets old.
It does get old. The drama is, it's here to stay, though. as much as we don't want it here, it's going to happen. I think it's just going to grow even more. It's because people are starting to like the little controversies and stuff like that. It's becoming more political, like the real world, the politics and stuff like that. It's more relied on fishing, and people are attacking each other. It's just going to happen. And the jealousy, like what you're saying, like that kid should be able to fish, but he can't afford it. We can. We are blessed. Spoiled and blessed at the same time.
Yeah, you still pay your way though.
But that drama, I think it's just going to continue, especially with social media now.
Yeah. Randy, I did not call out any particular one person. You guys make your own decisions on that. But speaking of which, I did talk to Randy, and he said he would come on too. So there you go. I have talked to all these guys, but I'm just saying it's purely because they get clicks, hog wild fishing. Try watching ESPN1 or FS1 and then watch those channels and tell me what the difference is. There isn't one. Both of them are living on clicks, but that's unfortunately that's the way of the world. That's how we make money. And guys, if you're going down the road, you will always turn and look at a wreck. That's why traffic slows down on one side of the highway as opposed to the other. What happens on that other side, those two lanes really don't affect you. You're on your way home, but everybody slows down. So that's just a thought. I just wanted. Now we'll get back. We got a few more minutes left of this show, and I know it's got to be getting close to Richard's bedtime. If he's anything
Look
like
out
that.
now.
It's actually 8:41 his time.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're an hour behind. I ain't worried about you no more. Richard, question for you. Do you think the old Redmans were better than the BFLs as far as the people and the things you have mentioned? Compare the two.
Yes, I think, and nothing against the younger generation. You had a lot of older guys back then, and everybody was just kind of settled in and kept peace and wasn't no drama. Today there's a lot of drama, and it's just part of the world of growing, and you're either gonna roll with it or you're not. So,
did you like it better?
Well, I was pretty young back then, and it was just an adventure back then.
Yeah, I got you. I see that. Clint Bartlett, pull up that comment. So this is good. Carl Jocumson is running an event this Saturday, cleaning up trash on the banks of Lake Chickamauga, 9 to 12 at Soddy Daisy. This is the stuff we want to see from anglers. You guys, one thing with the NPFL is y'all have a volunteer day. Mm-hmm. Isn't it you have a day off right before the tournament starts, and you guys go out into the community and do work. So that's got to make you feel good. Yeah. I don't know if the other organizations do that, but I do know you guys do that.
I would like to speak about our outreach at Hartwell.
Let's do it.
It was very unique. The library at is it Clemson? Is that right, guys?
Anderson.
Okay, at Anderson. We went to the library, and you can actually the children can actually go there and with their librarian card and check out a tackle box and a rod and reel for the day off of their library card. And us NPFL guys helped put some of the tackle boxes together and put some hooks on the rods and whatnot. And it was a very unique situation that they got going on, and bless my heart to be a part of it.
That's good stuff. That's just good stuff. I mean, and unfortunately, you don't get that because of clicks or whatever. Mm-hmm. That doesn't get out on the social media and stuff like some of the other situations.
The Hartwell was my first outreach that I ever did. Even the first year that I fished the NPFL, I never got the chance to do it. On my days off, I typically just want to get my clear head and just golf or do something different, just get my mind off of fishing. But I will never miss an outreach again. I mean, what I did, that actually touched my heart. Doing all that stuff and helping the kids out, we need more of that.
I agree.
As anglers.
I agree. Now, if one of those kids asked you how to rig a fluke, would you show them?
I will definitely not.
I just wanted to see how far his heart went right there. But I get what you're saying. Yeah. I get what you're saying, and that's good. And again, but we got to do something. Figure out how to get y'all's outreach out there.
Absolutely.
And I know Al and Al talks about that stuff. I've talked to him, so that's good stuff. Now,
Paul Benson actually works very hard to get all that up and going.
He does. That's a hard working fella. He's got his hands in a million different things. So up here, one day he's up here trying to sell arc, and the next day, you know, or whatever, and he's running tournaments. We just got to get Paul Benson to smile during the weigh-ins when he's running those bags. I actually text. What was the tournament before y'all's championship?
Amistad.
Amistad. I text Big Al during the weigh-in live and said, "Tell Paul to smile." So we got to work on Paul smiling, but he's a fantastic guy. Absolutely. So I want to get a couple more of your questions in before the night gets through. Hunter fishing. Last comment. I've had a good time fishing the BFL as a co-angler this year. I got a boat, but just trying to learn. Thanks for y'all's efforts on the Hartwell outreach. How can us fans participate?
Yeah. So with these weeks here, a lot of these guys are from all over the country. So we're just doing that outreach the day of. So these guys need help all throughout the year. So if you live somewhere close, you know, reach out to either one of the anglers or Paul Benson, and you guys can actually, you know, help these guys out, help these kids out throughout the year. So like, for example, the library that we went to where they can check out tackle, they're looking for donations all year long to fill these tackle boxes.
So that's not just through that week. This is legitimately an all year long thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. These guys are out there constantly, you know, and sometimes it's different. Like we had another group out here on Hartwell. We went to a Special Olympics, you know, kids place and just, you know, spent time with them. So it doesn't have to be anything big, but just whether you're at the local ramp or something, you know, give a kid a bag of baits or, you know, it doesn't have to, you don't have to go to these places necessarily to do stuff. But in fishing is always second to the impact we leave behind. So in saying that, yes, you can go to these same places, reach out to us, and we can get you in contact with these places. But at the same time, you can do that where you're at as well.
Okay, just volunteer. Just be a good person year round. So the kids is what it's all about. Great job, guys. And I agree with that. I agree. I mean, you know, we talk wherever one of these podcasts go, but whenever we get to that, it's still pretty cool. But you made a comment. It doesn't have to be big. Maybe to us, some of the little things, it's not big, but to a kid's eyes, it's huge.
Exactly.
You have no idea how you'll affect a kid 20 years down, just a random act of kindness. Now, Dennis Rice is whipping us right back on to the questions, and I don't blame you. Dennis Rice, does any of the three use a super fluke on a jig head? You're nodding your head there, Will.
Yeah, you know, I'll do all kinds of crazy stuff. You know, I love.
Now, are you saying that's crazy? Are you saying that's crazy? The super fluke? Do you go? How about this? When you use it on a jig head, do you go to a smaller one? Do you go to a regular fluke or even a smaller one?
Yeah, so I do a lot of things.
We're going to try to get something out of him right here.
I mean, a super fluke is great on a jig head at times. Get creative with it. You know, I started putting cutting the tail off a fluke and putting it on the back of a crankbait. So it turns into a deeper sweet bait, you know, like the Sabills that you throw in.
He's got a lot of time on his hands, don't he?
He puts a lot of time in.
This is all my dreams.
Yeah. This is your dreams. You're very crappy. What do you do? Glue it to the back of it?
No, just stick it on the treble.
Oh, you stick it on the treble. Yeah. Okay. All right. So the treble's still there.
Yeah. So a fluke is a great bait and you can use it 1,000 different ways. And a lot of them work. We get so dialed into, we got to throw it over a brush pile and twitch it back. Get crazy with it.
Give me one example of getting crazy with a fluke other than cutting the tail off of it. We had the wacky rig earlier, but a crazy way to use a fluke that is not normal for the average angler.
I throw it on a shaky head a lot.
Really?
Or a Ned rig.
Or a Ned rig, yeah.
Ned rig, really? A fluke on a Ned rig. What are you trying to emulate there?
I mean, it's the same thing, a bait fish, just on the bottom, kind of dying.
Okay. What about you, Richard?
Go right along with what they just said. Just all kinds of different ways. So
what about on a drop shot? Because I actually heard that come up in the conversation at the shop this week.
Yeah, it'll work.
Nose hook it or Texas rig it on a drop shot?
You can do both.
Both, yeah.
Well, which one's better? That's what I want to know.
Well, it depends on the day.
Okay, tomorrow. You're going out tomorrow. You're going to throw it on a nose hook? You're going to throw it on a Texas rig?
I'm probably going to try it both ways and see which way they like it the best.
Okay, well, which one are you going to start with?
Probably nose hook.
Nose hook.
There you go.
I got to dig. That's my job. I got to dig. Shop life.
Rapid firing questions.
Rapid fire.
It's an interrogation now.
We could do a rapid fire right there. Rich is probably going he going to call Will up. I ain't going back on that thing after that. Flukes on an A-rig, baby flukes. That's one way. I've caught them on hickory log with a drop shot. So flipping. Okay,
Yeah.
flipping. Now, you like to flip, don't you?
I love flipping.
You flip flukes?
Never.
Never. But, okay, would it work?
I would try it. Yeah.
Are you actually going to go out?
No, I flip. I used to flip flukes in Okeechobee
Yeah.
and Kissimmee patches and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Up here, though. TKR, I forget. You may have said it before. Where are you from? Will flipping a fluke work in North Georgia?
I'm going to say it is not the most effective way to catch bass around here.
Unless it was on a bed.
Yeah.
You can
Flip it into
you
the
can
bed,
flip
of
it on a
course.
bed.
Of
There you
course,
go.
I get that. I get that. Hey, Richard, you ever flipped a fluke?
I have not.
You have not. Would you?
Probably not.
Okay, I'm just curious. But you know what? He probably has done it, and it's worked for him, so he's got confidence. But we're also targeting a lot of spotted bass. It might be something on a largemouth lake that works. It works on tactical finesse. That flukes on a A-rig. I've seen guys do it with underspin, of course. All kinds of. I wish you guys were here before the show. Kevin Underwood dropped some really good juice that I am not going to repeat on some of the things that he uses a fluke, some of the modifications that he has found on certain things. So you're good on this side, baby. It's all right. Middle Tennessee. So there you go, Richard. TKR is in Middle Tennessee, and he's flipping flukes. So maybe that's something you guys can try to get into your arsenal right there.
Cool.
So, yeah, there you go. So, all right, we're an hour 50 in. Last question for tonight for all you guys. Going into Pickwick, what is something that you could possibly foresee playing, and what is something that would totally shock you if it came into play? Will, I'll start with you.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously your ledge fishing is going to be probably the biggest pull from anglers. Your crankbaits, your Carolina rigs, all kinds of stuff like that. It would shock me if, now with some new revelations as of like 2 hours ago, it was going to shock me had people run up to Bay Springs, Wilson, Kentucky. That would be a wild card that someone could very easily win that way. Obviously now that's taken off the table. So now it's more of the wild card would be your shallow fishing.
He opened that door.
I did open it.
He
I'm
opened
sorry.
that
We're
door. We
way in
opened
here.
that door. I'll explain that in a second. But how about you, Richard? Something that you expect to play and something that would shock you.
Expect to play is ledges. What will shock me is if somebody brought 15 smallmouth in and actually won.
One on smallmouth. That's a good one. Rob, how about you?
It wouldn't shock me if someone found a pattern up shallow.
Would
Something
not
random.
shock you.
Something random, shallow, off the skirts. That's something I'm going to look for just because that's how I am. I'm random Rob.
Random
Random
Rob.
Rob.
So
Yeah.
I always look for stuff like that. So
All right, Kevin Thornton, one of our fine followers here on the Livewell, wants to know: do you see big spoons playing a part at Pickwick? Any of you guys on big spoons,
Yeah, I love a big
like flutter
spoon.
spoons? I assume
Yeah.
that's what he's talking about.
Oh yeah.
yeah, I used to use them a lot in Chickamauga.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How about you, Richard?
It can be a player.
Okay. All right. So just to correct me anywhere that I'm wrong, just to address the comment that came out, and I don't have near enough information as these guys. Originally, Pickwick was the launch point. You guys were going to be able to lock and go to any of the lakes that you could get to.
Mhm.
Yes.
I don't think that was originally.
That wasn't original.
I don't think you could lock before the news, but I could be wrong
You could
about
go
that.
to Bay Springs.
You could go to
Yeah.
Bay
And
Springs.
then the compromise was to lock, and now it's neither.
Okay. And Tennessee DNR has basically said you guys got to stay on Pickwick.
Mhm.
Yeah, after 23 years.
After 23 years, based upon a law that was passed in 2001,
One.
Apparently.
that's just now getting enforced. And we'll just let the news lay out from there. But that's basically the change you were talking about.
Correct.
So just something that got thrown on these guys, which again, that's like a day of fishing. You got to let the fish tell you what they're biting on. Sometimes you guys got to adjust your possibilities based upon extenuating circumstances from outside. So you guys just kind of stay tuned on that. So TKR says deeper banks and treetops use a half-ounce weight. It bounces off every limb, reaction type bait, kind of like punching the grass. So I think he might still be talking about the fluke, flipping it in the fluke. So he's flipping it deep. Very similar to us just casting it deep. So I see that. So, all right, guys. So we're an hour 54 in. Again, Richard, it's only 9:48 or 9:54 there where you're at, but we know.
It's
We know.
8:54 here.
8:54 there. Oh, it's 9:54 here. Okay. I mean, see, I'm old and I lose my time. But first of all, I want to thank you, Richard, for taking some time jumping in with us tonight. Your first time. I hope we didn't scare you off, and I hope you had a decent time.
Thank you for having me.
Guys, listen, he is the inventor of the Money Saver Lure Retriever. We got him here at the shop, and they're on our website now, too, and you can find them at Tackle Warehouse and some other places. The absolute best plug knocker I've ever seen.
Our website hit the market today. It's the moneysaver.store.
Moneysaver.store. So if you guys want to see one in person, come here and check them out. But regardless, are y'all almost done with that video yet?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you look on the website, all that action video is on there.
I'm telling you guys, I have never seen a plug knocker go through the water with a vapor trail until you said that. So it's absolutely perfect. Will and Rob, but again, thank you, Richard, for joining us tonight. I appreciate
Thank you for having me.
With all that. You guys check out his store. You two guys are on here all the time. So from the bottom of my heart and everybody else, I appreciate you two guys.
No, thank you.
I very much enjoy watching you guys fish, but it's even better getting to know you guys and you guys coming in the store and all that. So, guys, hey, follow the NPFL, follow Will, Richard, and Rob as they go throughout the year. And there's a lot of great Georgia anglers that I didn't even realize there was that many fishing it. So, and we're going to get to know all of them, but you two guys are special as far as this show goes like that. So I appreciate you guys. Hey, if you're on the water this weekend, make sure you be safe first of all. It is Memorial Day weekend. Mm-hmm. We know what that brings to the waters. Just be safe out there. Enjoy your time outside, but be safe most of all. We want everybody to get home. And we look forward to Pickwick with you guys. And another night of fishing fun. Thanks again from North Carolina, Frank Arnold. Hey, we love all you Yankees. We love you Yankees. I tell everybody, if you're north of Dahlonega, Georgia, you're a Yankee, but we like you guys. So, but anyway, you guys have a great weekend. We appreciate you watching, and we'll see you on the next one.